than forever, yeah. My home is now a distant land. If I had one wish, I wish I could be back on the rock in the middle of the sea.
And talo falo.
My name is Emeline Falahola Taukivea.
And my name is Eugene Tom Tukumoyatu.
And welcome to Rock on the Mainland podcast. You want to let them know how we know each other?
The long version or the short one?
The long one for sure.
The long one or the short one, huh? Emma over here, she is my sister-in-law. I'm married to the family, the Taukivea and / Yongi. Shout out to all those last names over there. Her sister is my wife. So yeah, that's how we know each other, and you know we're pretty much blood related.
Pretty much. Okay, let's tell them about how we came up with this podcast. Eugene, let me start. Eugene came over to my house to visit my boyfriend, and he practically begged me to do a podcast. That's how I recall it. Is that how you recall it?
I think it wasn't something like that. I think we were talking about my passion. You know, like we over here in the state, and mostly here in Utah, we don't really have. We do have a radio, the Tongan radio that also on Sundays and stuff like that. But we don't have like a Latino kind of radio station where it's 24/7 and stuff like that. So, you know, I just want to give to the community and kind of bring that passion to help people or serve them in a way that I can. Mostly those that migrate from the islands over here. So when they get over here, they're not in a culture shock or anything else.
I definitely agree. Something I think that we had really dug deep into and talked about that night was looking at people that we know, people that are like us, Polynesians, whether you're Hawaiian, Tongan, Samoan, Fijian, whatnot, come here and just seeing how big of a culture shock, like you were saying, it is to be on the islands versus here. Now, you have more experience on the islands because I came here when I was really young. I was born in Tonga, but we moved here when I was young. So I don't think it was too much of a culture shock for me. I think the biggest culture shock is trying to adapt as a person of color in America, even though we're so diverse.
Yeah, like my culture shock when I got up here was just the language. And understanding what was going on in Utah or mostly over here in America, because, you know, they say this is where the land of the free and stuff like that. So when I got up here, it wasn't pretty much that.
Yeah.
You know, you had to work for paying the bills or staying in your home. If you don't, then pretty much you get evicted.
Yeah.
So, and stuff like that. So now, evicted.
So I thought it was interesting when we were talking about it, and then we decided that maybe we should do a podcast because we don't know of any podcasts that are for Polynesians. And so, like we were talking about Rock on the Mainland, we thought it was funny because Maine is spelled like a horse mane, and he's a Samoan, and I'm a Tongan, so you guys can put that together. But we did want to talk about things as far as just finding cultural differences in each other, ourselves, and also being here in America and trying to adapt to the American culture. So we're hoping that this podcast is going to let all of our listeners know, or not know, but be able to relate. We want to be able to relate to people that are in the same situation as us, and just trying to implement our culture, Polynesian cultures, with the American culture and live and succeed here. Before we move on to our main stuff, we want to give a shout out to Jose with Lane Vision for producing this podcast. Yay!
My man, Jose.
My man, Jose.
Correction, my man.
I can't even deal. So thank you, Lane Vision, for all of the equipment, for taking the time tonight, and every other week when we come back to talk to you guys.
Yep, thank you. Thank you so much. Oh, I just got a text from him as well. I don't know about you. He's checking on me.
Oh, man. All right. So, Gene, why don't you tell us about you? Where are you from? Where were you born, raised? When did you come to America?
So, I was born in American Samoa. It's a territory to the United States. And then my parents migrate from Western Samoa to American Samoa to find a better life, in a society and things like that. So that's where I came in. Right there, I was born in American Samoa, grew up in Pango Pango. And then in the 90s, probably 10 years old, we moved to Western Samoa.
Oh.
Yeah, and that'll be the island of Upolu. That's where I was. I was pretty much close by Apia Park. That's where the Manu Samoa and a lot of rugby, cricket, and like just right there. That's where everything was for sports.
Cricket's a big sport there.
Oh yeah, it's a big one. It's one of the Samoan culture thing, the sport as well. It's playing cricket, and it's a fun sport. But I never wasn't into it.
I almost feel like cricket is a big sport in a lot of countries other than America. Like, I feel like a lot of people that I talk to, people from Africa or people from
New Zealand, or India, India,
Europe.
Yep, they're really into it. A lot of it's a one of those. I think it was a Europe kind of thing for them to play cricket. It's an international sport as well. So I never, play that game. It's for those guys.
It's for those guys, not this guy.
Not this guy. This guy's is too much for that sport.
Okay, and then when did you come here to America from Western Samoa?
So I got here back in 2003. I think that was I think it was beginning of winter. I think that was fall time, November. That's where we got here. There was a group of us that came from American Samoa. There's a program called Job Corps, and we had a recruiter down in American Samoa. That's how we got up here. Job Corps is pretty much run by the state. It's a government program for those kids that are unfortunate. When I say unfortunate, are from a bad background, or you didn't even have a good education as well. You can have an education over there, or trade, or work related kind of thing, like a mechanic, being a culinary arts, plumbing, and stuff like that.
Oh, so Job Corps is like a trade school.
Yes.
And then they flew you here, or you like enroll and then have to try to get here?
No, we catch a whale. His name is Charlie. Yeah.
No, you're a whale rider?
Oh yeah. That story for another day. No, we flew out here. Our recruiter told us to just wear a polo shirt, white shirt and whatever. But we all decided to wear shorts, diggy shorts. Well, that's one of the biggest, thing out there as well. So we wore that, and some wear shoes, and some wear on flip flops, or they call it sandals, or silipa.
Yeah.
Yep. So we got up here, and then bam, snow was out there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In your shorts.
So we kind of enjoy the first moment of getting here. So it was a good opportunity for us to see what snow look like and how cold is cold.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like so I was born in Tonga, and we came here, I think when I was like 4-ish. And we came here in the winter too. And I don't really remember too much about like the transition phase from there to here, but I do remember when we pulled up to my uncle. We lived with my Uncle Bill when we came. and I opened my eyes and it was snow. And I don't think I got out of the van for like 30 minutes. I was so scared because I didn't know what it was. I feel like that was like a huge shock to me, was to see that and not know what it was. And I feel like people here, especially in Utah, they're just so used to it, and it's something that's normal. It's here for pretty much half the year and stuff. And so for them, I know my cousins were like, what is the problem? Get out of the car.
Yeah, that's one thing that, relate to it. It was in Samoa, it's an island.
Mm-hmm.
You can get around a day on it. But coming over here, it was a big, like, it was really big. Like, I can't even grasp how big it is and stuff like that. So mentally, it wasn't, try to soak it in, but it was too much.
So did you come straight here to Utah?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. And it was an interesting flight too, and stuff like that. So we had a connection in Hawaii. So we flew from American Samoa to Hawaii, and then catch another flight from there, and then LA, and then here to Utah.
Oh, okay. So
we
you
had
lied to
connection.
me. It wasn't straight here.
Yeah.
So you went to California first. And Hawaii.
Like I said, it was a really it's big, and it was one of those things we talk about it. It's a wild thing.
Yeah.
Especially
look at going from state to state.
Oh
like,
my
how
gosh.
many more? And why does it take so long to get there? I definitely agree. So, what are some things that you have seen culture-wise that are different from Samoa to America?
I think for my experience now, being a parent, having a daughter of our own, it's the upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up back in Samoa, everything was about family. You take care of family first before anything else. When I say that, growing up, it was, like, I know my place in the family. I know my number. And, like, where I stand in the family.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those things. And it was so many things about it. Education was one of it as well, but I think it was more of the family than anything else.
Okay.
If I go out of, if I do something that will affect the family, mostly, on the negative side, the family, they will ask, it's like, whose son is it? Like, they'll go by, it's like, oh, it's so-and-so's son, and, and then it hurts the family. It's pretty much, like that. And
yeah,
it brings pride in what you do. And at the same time, it gives that, negative things aside of it.
I definitely agree. I think, let me find this quote. So there's this quote that I had seen one time, and it says, although spread across the Pacific Ocean, all Polynesians are known for the strong sense of family. With a rich ancestral history, their ancestor worship brought their reverence a deep sacred meaning. And I think that that's true, like, for any Polynesians, regardless of what island that you're from, they do teach and preach family, I don't really know, like, tell us about you growing up there, how you felt like that part of the culture, putting family first, how you think that was implemented in your life, or how it was brought to you, and how you learn, like, even if your parents weren't always like family first, family first, family first, like, what are some things that you think growing up had really taught you that, like, the depth of the meaning family?
I think it's, it starts off with religion. Like, I remember my grandparents, and everybody will get together, like, from every, we have our land, but then we have uncles and aunties' houses around, on that land. And then in the morning, we'll all get together in one house, and that'll be grandma and grandpa's house. And we say the prayers before anything else. And we're talking about like, my grandpa will recite scripture from the Old Testament or the New Testament. That's how I grew up into it. And he'll talk about, take care of the family first or anything else. And after that, then I start my day by just washing the dishes or whatever that's out there in the kitchen, or picking up the leaves of, from the trees and stuff like that before I go to school. And, and then there you have grandma or mom over there preparing for if we have, leftover from the night for some little snack for them in the morning, then we go to school and get ready for our uniform and things like that. And yeah, when you come back, you got your chores again to do. Prepare the food for the evening time. And those are, a few things that I like about it. And in the evening time, when we're about to serve food, we always serve our grandparents first.
Oh,
Like
I
the
like that.
grandparents and our parents, and then we serve them first. So we give them the best out of, the cooking and stuff like that. We give them the best. And that is respect, and then after that, whatever is left from there, we'll go with it, and it's not a bad thing. Growing up, it was, but now, having a family of my own and growing up here in the States, I really regret thinking like that.
That it was a bad thing.
Yes, it was a bad thing, because that was giving, that it's like a veteran, like we give the respect to those vets because they serve for the country. So it's pretty much like that, the grandma and grandpa, they build the family.
Yeah.
And then they pass that down. So now we're giving the respect to those guys. So, it's pretty much the respect and, give gratitude for, now we're here. You have a family of your own, and
I see.
you got to take care of that.
I like that. I feel like growing up for me, I don't know if it was cultural or if it was just the way that my parents had raised us, but I think what had really shown me how family should be was just kind of like how you were saying, we always did things together. We would read scriptures every morning. We would pray every morning and pray at night, always together as a family. We would have family home evenings, that's something religious and stuff. And so, but it was always just centered around being around family. Even when we went on vacations, it was like, we would go on vacation to go and see family. It wasn't like, we're going to go on vacation to, just be by ourselves and go on this amazing trip, by ourselves. But the amazing part of the trip was to go and see family that doesn't live by us and to stay connected that way. Like one of my most favorite things that we would do as kids was to go and see my dad's brother in Reno, and just going and being able to bond with my cousins in Reno that we didn't ever see every day, but being able to keep that strong bond with them. And even still now, like, I don't really see them too often. They do live here in Utah, but I feel like when we do see each other, we just pick up right where we left off. Yeah. And I really feel like that was my parents instilling the importance of family and connections.
Yeah, it's our the Samoan culture, and we, the way that we talk, the way that we stand, the way that we represent ourselves, because we are Samoans. The last name we carry with us. Yeah. But we are Samoans. So whatever that we do out there is it's pretty much a standard. Expectation is high. Yeah. And sometimes it breaks me down, because I can't, get to that standard, and stuff like that. But the culture itself, it's pretty much a simple culture where we serve each other and look out for each other in times of need, or in times of trouble and stuff like that. And it's, I really don't want to dive too deep into it because I might get lost. In the culture is because they do go deep
Yeah.
on that one, the meaning of it. But Ainga means pretty much everything. Like Hawaiian is Oana, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I appreciate that because when you go around and here in America too, when I proposed to my wife, that was the first thing that my you know grandparents and uncle asked is like, what's the last name?
Mm-hmm.
Genealogy is so big,
Yeah, for
and then
sure.
make sure that first cousin or second cousin, stuff
Exactly.
like that.
Can't be kissing
Yeah.
cousins.
But I told him like, hey, I'm Samoan, all right. Last name is Tongan, but I'm Samoan. But yeah, it's one of those things, and you are so amazed when they see the genealogy tree
Mm-hmm.
and things like
It
that.
really is.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see the connections, but I think that that's something that I find very important is just kind of knowing family. I know I haven't jumped into genealogy too much, but I am grateful that my parents and some of my sisters do know a lot of the branches on our tree. So that, when I meet somebody or whatever, I can always ask them, hey, are we related to this person or, whatnot? Because I feel like I'm related to every Tongan. So you have to be careful.
Yeah, you gotta ask Cindy or Leo, huh?
Yeah, or mommy and daddy,
Yeah.
and just see. But even still, then even if it's just something like, hey, I met somebody at work or whatnot, and just trying to find that connection, I feel like is just amazing in our culture. Is that we are just born and raised to have a yearning to find that connection with people that we're related to. Okay, so how old were you when you came here from Samoa?
I'm not saying anything.
They're gonna age you.
All I know, I'm still young, guys. I'm still young. I got here in Utah when I was 22, turning 23.
Oh, okay.
So,
So
yeah.
you really grew up in Samoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing that kind of I remember is that remember my grandparents would tell me to take one of the dinner to a next door neighbor for another grandma and grandpa,
Mhm.
just a next door neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just for them. So whatever it's here before they eat, that's what I remember. It's like mangko say meko samingade avere even the grandma and grandpa and the other family.
Okay.
So that's one thing that I know, and then they'll do the same thing too to our grandparents, and like you say, we take care of each other
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So when we come out here, when they see my face or I say my last name, they know my dad and my mom,
I love that.
and it's just because of what my grandparents and what my parents did,
Mm-hmm.
back in the island. I didn't notice,
Mhm.
but it's something that it goes a long way.
I love that you say that. There's that reminds me, we have, like, growing up here in America, we had this cute little Palangi lady that lives on the next block on the corner, and her name is Connie, and she was like our grandma. Or we treated her like that. We would make goods or we'd have extra dinner or whatnot, and we would always take it to her. Around Christmas, we'd go caroling and things like that. And she's not related to us in any way, but I think that as well was teaching my parents, teaching us, like, she's older. We need to respect her as a grandparent. She did things for us, like my favorite thing that she would do for us every year was to cook us homemade chicken noodle soup. Oh my gosh, everything was homemade except for the chicken, obviously, but like the noodles were amazing. And I feel like just seeing that and maybe implementing that as part of our culture, to look out for people, to respect our elders and things like that, it really had just taught me that, and I think that I can implement that in my life now. We have neighbors that live, our neighbors, they're older, an older couple, And anytime that we have extra food or we bake cookies or whatnot, I always tell my kids, you guys need to go and, take it to them. Go and check on them. When you see them outside, make sure that you say hi. And I think here, people just think that we're just being neighborly. But I think it is part of our culture that we take care of the people around us.
Yeah, because, like we don't stand by ourselves, because there will be a time where we needed help and they know who we are. It's not going to be an easy thing. It's not going to be a hard thing for them to like, it's
we don't know them. So
it's like, we don't know them, but the more you speak about chicken, I'm hungry. We got some chicken in here.
Chicken girl? Just kidding. Just kidding, Nia. All right. So now that we talked about growing up and how we were raised, let's talk about parenting now. You were talking about how you have a family now. I have children of my own as well. Parenting now in America, how do you think, from culture-wise, growing up in Samoa and being so engulfed in that culture, that deep, rich culture, and how do you parent now in America and try to implement that culture, or do you?
Man, I have so many great experiences.
Oh, do tell.
Let me show some scars when I'm telling you guys about the great experience of having that. Okay, so my dad was pretty much a caretaker for our family. He was pretty much the one that was working.
Okay.
My mom was staying home and taking care of us and the family. The thing is, with growing up over there, it was the standard itself.
The standard of the man working, or
I think it's the pride.
Okay.
Pride. When I say pride, it's not like prideful. It's a pride of who you are.
Okay.
In that family. Make
like
sure
your role
yes.
that you play.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my dad expect us, the boys, to take care of things in the house. When he leaves, we're pretty much where mom is protected and our sisters are protected and stuff like that. So I believe it goes with any, culture over here as well. But they said,
I think that's interesting. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's interesting that you guys took care of things inside the house, where when we were growing up, we took care of inside the house. Now, I have 6 sisters, and then my little brother came later, but I have, 5 sisters, I'm sorry, I'm the 6th. So I have 5 sisters and then my parents, and my dad always just worked, and then he would come home and take care of like the yard and stuff, but us girls were expected to take care of inside the home, cooking, cleaning, taking care of the babies and stuff like that. So I think that's interesting, your difference of the boys would take care of the inside of the house too.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty much multitasking, like
Okay,
cooking.
guy.
I was cooking, getting
doing everything.
I was climbing the coconut, at the plantation, taking care of that, and then bringing some food for the family for the evening time and things like that, while my sisters will be taking care of, like inside the house. But like I said, we were pretty much all around to take care of our own, even though that we know our place, but we still, take care of everything else. And if one it's not there, then we take care of that. One thing that I know that my dad always talk about it, and this is the Samoan culture, is that the brother always take care of the sister.
Yeah.
No matter what, even though the sister is older, but he will take care of the older sister no matter what. Because there's a saying in Samoa, ole kufinger i maka, so it's that middle part of your eye.
Your pupil?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you cover your face, you don't want the vision to go away and stuff like that. So it's a metaphor.
Okay.
You got to protect your vision, is because when the vision goes out, you can't see anything. So that's where we come in and protect our sisters and
I love that.
And things like that.
So the woman is the pupil of the eye.
Yes. So yeah, it's one of those things that I am grateful that I grew up in a good hard um culture where we as men are protector and caretaker
Mm-hmm.
of that, and at the same time we have a soft spot, soft part of us as well,
Yeah.
you know.
So how do you think you implement that culture growing up to your parenting skills now?
So parenting. So this is a real fact. Like my parenting always, like it's like they always tell me, but the second time it won't be a telling. It'll be a follow of the laying of the hand on you, like and stuff like that. So we all grew up in that generation where the sasa
Mm-hmm.
will be the first thing, and then explain or question, what did you do, and comparing that to my daughter, it's different with America, where this is not Samoa,
Mm-hmm.
like if I discipline my daughter, I discipline in a way that is different from Samoa. Sasa, yes, there will be
Mm-hmm.
a sasa, but not like a sasa where she's not in the future she's not gonna come to me and I'm not a protector kind of way.
I see. I see.
That kind of thing. So
So now you speak first before you hit.
yes, but sometimes that someone will pop out. Oh yeah, it's the laying of the hands.
I love that.
I believe there was one time that my daughter and my wife were doing a homework, and she wasn't listening.
Mm-hmm.
Like my wife is helping with the homework, but she was not listening. So I was just in the living room, just watching TV, and my wife got fed up, and then she says like, "Babe, take care of her," like she's expect me to kind of bring her down and talk to
Yeah.
her. And nah, I grabbed the belt, flip her around, and then I spank her with it. My wife's face just like, what just happened? My daughter's face was shocked with, because it was powerful and quick.
Uh-huh.
And my daughter just like walked to the, when I spank her, I tussle her behind
Mm-hmm.
with the belt, and then she went to the room and she cried. And then sooner, my wife was crying too, so she went to the room and they both cried.
They both cried together?
Yeah.
Oh, sad days.
Bunch of crybabies. So
That's funny
yeah.
that you say that. I feel like us growing up, like I said, there were 6 of us girls and then my brother. And I just remember like growing up and hearing the stories of like my older sisters, Lillian, Cindy, Loretta, Evelyn, even, of like how they used to get disciplined back home and stuff. And then we were here in America, and my dad used to do the whole laying on of hands as well. And then we come here to America, and my parents parented differently, I think, here. And maybe it was the culture, maybe they were just tired because the 4 must have been really bad.
Who are those 4 that you talking about?
Lillian, Cindy, Loretta, and Evelyn.
There you go. It's out there.
But no, what's funny is I feel like me and Fatai, we kind of just like ran free. And I remember a lot of times growing up, my sisters were like, why do you guys not get hit? Why do you guys, like, they're so easy on you guys,
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff. And I wonder if it was, and I always kid around with it. And I'm like, well, you guys must have been really bad because mom and dad were tired by the time it got to us. You know what I mean? But
Mhm.
it might just be a cultural thing as well, coming here to America. And they
It
just
is.
know that, it's got to be a little bit different.
It is with my siblings, my young siblings. That would be Tommy, Gordon, and Joe.
Mm-hmm.
I think the laying of the hands was done after us, the grown-ups,
Mm-hmm.
except the other 2, serve our mission, and then the other 2 were in the military. And then we came back and talked to our parents. It really hurts us, not physically but mentally,
Mm-hmm.
the way that it was. And and coming over here in America, it was another culture, so like
Mm-hmm.
Samoa, yeah, Samoa. But here in America, that's, we follow by the land, the law of the land,
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So we kind of advise and kind of give our thoughts, like, this is America. We don't want the government, the police or stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that to come out here
To
because
be
of that, because
involved.
pretty much it's a child abuse
Yeah.
and things like
Is
that.
it though? Or is it just plain discipline?
It's pretty much is a discipline thing, but this young ones that in our family, they took it in a different way. So they got lucky because they didn't have the heart, sasa
Yeah.
from the parents. Oh my gosh, it was really hard for my parents, because they grew up in we grew up in that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really hard for them because now they had to adapt to change,
Right.
and
Yeah.
it was a good change too,
Mm-hmm.
for them to now.
Especially for you.
Yeah, now it's yeah. That's why none of my nephew and nieces come to my house, because when they come here, there's no fun and play. So like, hey, outside, pick up the trash. Make sure downstairs is vacuum and clean the windows.
No, I definitely agree, because I feel like, growing up, it was very much like my dad was the stern disciplinary figure in the home. And so we would try to do things that we knew weren't right and then hope that just mom catches us, because then mom's just going to sit down and talk to us and tell us what we did wrong and all of this stuff, and every once in a while she would be like, okay, I won't tell dad. But we knew if dad knew, oh no, like my ear would be ripped off from my head. That was his favorite thing.
Oh, wow.
I feel like it's interesting to see the difference there. How the role of your mom being in the home, was she a disciplinary parent, or was she more the comforting, come to me, talk to me?
Yeah, comforting, yes, that would be a option for her.
Mm-hmm.
The B option will be the sasa,
Oh,
but when she sasa, it's not like a dad sasa,
yeah.
like she'll just like, it's pretty much like a pinch and like that's how it is.
I remember we were teenagers one day, and I can't remember. I think that it was that me and Fathai were playing or something like that, and the house wasn't done and stuff. And so mom came down, and she was so angry this day, and she was so angry with us. And so she was like spanking us. And then she just sat there. She was like trying to put on her hand because it hurt her. She's like, why did you guys make me do that? So I definitely agree. I feel like my mom's definitely was not like my dad's.
Yeah, it's really,
just not in their blood.
yeah, and that's the thing, that parenting, it was a different time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm really, tell you the truth, I'm proud that I grew up there,
Yeah.
and the experience that I have,
Mm-hmm.
because now I have two way of experience,
Mm-hmm.
that way of life that I grew up into, and the American way of life,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So every time when I talk to my daughter, I reminiscent of my days,
Mm-hmm.
and how it was. You got it so easy over here, and you got so many opportunity.
Yeah.
And back in the island, we had to make something happen,
Mhm.
and it's things like that. So when we come over here, we do for hours and stuff like that. We know,
Yeah.
and when we work, we know how to work and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So they don't have to micromanagement or anything
Mhm.
else at work too, because I put my best into it, because it's something that I grew up into it. It's pride.
Yeah.
When I do something, it always come back to that.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. And what I thought was interesting in what you were just saying is, we come here and there's so many opportunities. And that's something that I wanted to bring up too. In this podcast, I would like to share with our listeners also benefits that we have here in America. You were saying like we have to work for everything that we have there, and one of the things that comes to mind when I think about that, because I agree, growing up, my parents, they really just worked so hard so that we could have what we needed and some of what we wanted. And I think because America is just so full of opportunity and stuff like that, there are also um, government resources that we can utilize here. Not saying that breaking your back and working for what you have is a bad thing, but also I think as Polynesians we get really prideful, like you were saying. So there are resources out here for people that are um, financial resources such as food stamps. And we'll put a link below, anybody that might need financial assistance, um, or help with food even. I think because America has so many opportunities, sometimes it's a little hard for us to be able to grasp those opportunities or when we are in a rut. So, like say for instance, the food stamps program, it's made for people to be able to it's kind of like a bridge, you're going and everything is smooth and then you come across you're treading water. So this is going to be like a bridge to kind of help you get back on your feet so you can spend your money on doing back payments or whatnot to get back on your feet and stuff. And I think that that is something that people especially people like us Polynesians and stuff, they don't really know what resources are out there and available, and all it is an application. So we'll put that link below just so that you guys can take a look at that if you guys are in that kind of financial situation. And I think that we don't need to be too prideful. We do live in America, all of these opportunities and the land of the free. And some of that is we all know that people need help sometimes. And just like how we had talked about helping others and things like that, we want to be able to help anybody out there that might need help by giving you guys resources to be getting into that. So
Yep.
let's see.
I think I had a good experience with food stamp. Growing up in American Samoa, there was this one time, I believe we had where my mom was applying for it, and then we qualified for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mind me, this is the young age. I think I'm still in, I think elementary, going into junior high,
Oh.
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So having a food stamp was really awesome for me, to tell you the truth. I could go to the store, grab me a soda, noodles, whatever I wanted. It was right there. So, like it wasn't money, but it was help at that time because,
Okay.
my dad was struggling for a minute over there.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom was, we were fortunate enough to get qualified for that.
Yeah.
And then just having that, it was like we got cereal, juice, milk, ketchup. Oh, I love ketchup. And mayonnaise. Oh man, that combination right there. Oh yeah. and it's just it was something to help our family and in
Yeah.
that time frame when we were struggling,
Yeah.
and it was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to shy away from it, but yeah, it was
Mm-hmm.
a really good thing. I think I stole some few paper, food stamp.
So you guys had the ones that were like
Yeah,
vouchers?
yes,
Like the...
yes, that's the one.
I've never seen those, but I've heard of them.
That's
When
the
I
one.
got food stamps here in America, it was the card. You get plastic and you can go and swipe it. It's like a Visa.
So yeah, it was a good thing, at that time. Yeah, I didn't know the meaning of it, but it did help our family
Yeah.
for that struggle time that we had,
Mhm.
and it benefited our family for a little time that we were struggling.
Mm-hmm. And then
And
you go
then-
right back up.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the benefit of, all of these resources that we have available to us here is that it's always just it's an aid, not meant to be a crutch where it might continue to cripple you, but it's only supposed to be temporary, to help you get to where you need to be. I think when we talk about food stamps, it reminds me of the new Selena movie or the series.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I remember that episode.
So they get approved for food stamps or whatever, and Abraham is so prideful and does not want to have food stamps. And so he goes into the store with AB and
The younger,
what is her
the
name?
older sister. I forgot the name of the older sister, the drummer.
Dang it, what is her name? Anyway, so
Let's just call her drummer.
Suzette, that's right.
Suzette the drummer.
Suzette and AB, and he's sitting in the aisle after they have filled their cart and stuff, and he's like, these are food stamps, and we should not be too prideful, and, you know, this is fine, and all this stuff, and he gives them, like, this huge pep talk that says, all right, I'll see you in the car, and walks out, and I thought it was just so funny, because I feel like I can relate to that. I feel like when I had food stamps, too, when I first got them, I think just because of the way that we grew up, you know, if we wanted something, we had to work really hard for it. And I never saw my parents struggle. It was just always a stern no. And maybe that was their way of being like, no, we don't have the money for it or whatnot. But I do know that my parents worked really hard. And so I think when I grew up and became an adult and had to be on food stamps, to me, it was more of like I'm ashamed because maybe I didn't work as hard as I should have to be able to get what I needed. And I didn't look at it the other way. So I guess when I had it, I was more in like an Abraham mindset where I was ashamed. I would pull out my card and pull it out with like my ID and other cards. And then I'd swipe it real quick and then stick it back in, you know, so people wouldn't even see that it was a food stamp card. Like that's how ashamed I was. And it wasn't until I had to get food stamps again that I was like, I have got to look at this differently and realize that because we're in America, we have funds to be able to help people out. And it was a time that I really, really needed help. And maybe I was too prideful to go and ask my parents, but I feel like it's, that's one of the benefits of living here in America is all the resources that we have to help us.
Yep.
Okay, so taking all of this into account, how can we as Polynesians adapt to the American culture?
Ketchup and mayonnaise. I think it's so I coach rugby
Okay.
here in the Davis County.
Shout them out. What's their name?
So shout out to LCA Rugby Club. That's a high school rugby club, and as well as I run the Antelope Island Rugby Club
Woo woo.
up here. For that will be the men's premier division. That will be the men's side of things.
Such a fancy name. Men's Premier Division.
Yes.
Antelope Rugby.
Yes, that's right. Like I said, I'm young. Put me in, coach.
No, because I hear that you get injured every time. Don't put him in, coach.
If you guys hear a guy named Moresby, don't even ask him a question. he got all the evidence of
I feel
that.
like we need to have him on the show.
Oh man. So for that, food and stuff like that. I mean, it's a shock because, we work for our food. We plant our food. We pretty much grow our food and we have our own, air for whatever, and the sea for fish and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's everywhere. We have to work to grow it, like a garden and stuff like that. We call it plantation back there. And we have so many of pua'a or porks.
Okay.
Pig.
Mm-hmm.
We have that one. So we feed them, and then after that they feed us.
Yes.
Yum yum. Chicken as well. We have that. We have cows. And things like that. So, but one thing that we're into it's box of lambs and turkey tails, muli pipis and stuff like that, and yeah, all those good food. And but like I said, we cook those food for us to eat, that
Yeah.
night. So we after school we go back and prepare the food for the evening for the whole family and things like that. You got talo yams, bananas, papaya, all those good stuff that I missed. Over here.
And you guys would just do it like in your backyard?
Yeah. We got it. We got our land and things like that. So it grows right there, and things like that. So, we got basil, passion, guava.
I don't know if I'd be able to live off the land like that, to be completely honest. I feel like growing up here in America, we just go to the grocery store and buy it. And I remember this one time, I can't remember, there must have been like a wedding or a funeral or something like that we were doing. And my daddy had brought home a pig and killed it in my backyard. And I went outside after hearing it squealing for like ever. And then it just like stopped. And I was like, okay, did that really happen in my house? Like, what is happening? And I remember going to the back and I opened the back door and it was just like blood everywhere. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I was mortified. And then I became a vegetarian for a year and a half.
Wow. That's where you get your food from. That's where, that's the truth right there,
I know. And
the
it's so
butcher
funny because people are like, what do you mean? Like, that's what happens every time that you buy, pork chops or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, but I saw it. Like, that was so hard for me. But I feel like that's why I'm saying, like, I don't know if I'd be able to live off the land like that. I'd be really skinny.
Oh man.
I'd be really skinny. There was this thing I Googled a lot of things, and I just I thought it was so funny.
Thank
because
you, Google.
my boyfriend and I were trying to do like dieting and stuff like that. And so I had put in, because I'm trying to figure out like not so much like a diet, but just like a new way, like a new lifestyle, right? And so I had actually Googled, why are Polynesians so big? So I Googled this because I'm trying to figure out what it is that I eat that makes me so big. You know what I mean? And so what had come with this, and this is, I feel like this is the answer that I'm going to go with. It says evolution. Evolution for adaptation made that a Polynesian's body is now more able to stock energy, fat, glucides, I don't really know, and etc. It is why we Polynesian ethnicity tend to grow up big and strong, because we tend to stock energy more easily than some other people.
All lies. That's all lies. If that was true, why am I still small? Tell me that.
Are you so small?
I am small. I don't care what other guys tell me. I'm small.
Okay, Thomas, tell me what your favorite dish is, cultural dish or favorite food.
So my favorite food will be, oh my gosh, it'll be lamb fried with laupele. And
what's that?
It's I can't tell. I'm not gonna say anything just to laupele is pretty much like a cabbage or something like that, but it's a plant that grows. We took up the leaves and then we cut it, and then we just fry the mamoy and then with it. So it's pretty much like a cabbage over here, but we call it laupele. So I don't know what's the English language word for it.
English language.
Okay. So and with to top it off, it'll be fa'alifukalo, like and things like that, because everything is fresh. It come off. We're not going to Walmart and they try to keep it fresh, but I don't know how long it was in that box. So when I say fresh, we just pretty much from the plant itself.
Yeah.
You know, like it's still fresh and everything is.
You
is
know
still,
it's fresh
Oh
because
yeah,
you got it.
because I grow. You know,
Right.
yes, I took care of that, and now it's taking care of me.
I love that that is your motto in life. I took care of that, so now it's taking care of me.
Ketchup and mayonnaise.
I feel like my favorite is blue. So like here I don't know if they do it back home. I haven't been back since 2003, but
Wow, that's
here
been
they
long.
do. I know, so long. Don't ask me how old I am or how old I was when I went. But here they do like a lot of like chopped spinach. And they like bake it in a pan and stuff, which I like. Well, I only like my mom's like that. But they also have, I really like the ones where it's like foiled, the big leaves, and like actually cooked that way. That's really, really my favorite.
The color leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Blue
put it in
CP
the,
is my favorite. That lamb meat, it's always so tender. Oh, it's my favorite.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, now I'm hungry, so we have to finish.
Yes, I'm really hungry right now.
Okay, so taking all of these into account, all of the cultural differences that we've talked about tonight, how do you think we as Polynesians can adapt to the American culture? And I guess, how do you adapt to the American culture?
Phew, that's a good question. It took a while for me to adapt to the American life because nobody prepared me for it. You know, growing up, we didn't have anything called budget. You know, how to budget our money, because over here, everything is about that green dollar, that green paper.
Definitely.
You know, and then over here, you always look to the future. And back in the island, we do look to the future, but, you know, we have our land. We're not paying anything for our land.
Yeah.
You know, and water and stuff like that. We're so blessed down there, you know. When people say, you know, Samoa, you know, this and that, I'm telling them straight, Samoa is a blessed island. Samoa is blessed and continue to be blessed. You know, over here, I learned something else, you know, to be well educated with the money side of things, and then how well to take care of myself while I'm here. And when I say that, I'm looking into the future, retirement. I'm looking into how my daughter's going to be, you know, like, you know, teaching what I didn't learn to her when she grows up. She doesn't go through that struggle or that gap that I was in it, to learn how to be smart in things that she does, because, you know, things won't go easy.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I'm Samoan, my wife is Tongan, we're both Polynesian. People will look at us too, in the skin, you know, to our skin and stuff like that. Yes, it's a bad thing, but at the same time, be proud of, you know, who we are, and take that step to prove them wrong.
Yeah.
That we can be smart in the way that we speak, you know, present ourselves into them. We don't have to, you know, put ourselves down.
Yeah.
And things like that. So
I definitely agree. I think adapting to American culture here, even though I've done it all of my life, but now being a parent as well, I think that my parents did a really great job in implementing our culture and our roles in our culture and in the home and things like that, because like you were saying, it's such a deep, rich culture that Polynesians have, regardless of what island that we're from. And so I think, you know, now having, I have 4 girls, and so just kind of teaching them slowly when we go to family events and things like that, trying to tell them while we're there, this is where you stand. You know, you're going to be in the kitchen this time, or you're going to be, you know, out there helping out with everything else and stuff like that. So just kind of trying to teach them where they need to be as far as our culture. Also, implementing anything that I've learned from my parents and stuff. But just like you were saying, understanding that we are who we are. Three of my girls are half black, and then my youngest is Miko. And I feel like just them understanding both sides of their culture and being proud of that. Here in America, we're so diverse here, but I feel like because of the diversity, we can get lost really quickly
Oh yeah.
and lose
Yep.
culture and where we're from and what we know we are and stuff. And so I think that it's important now implementing our culture into our daily life. And I want to read you this quote that I love. It's from an NFL player. His name is Troy Polamalu. Do you know that guy?
Oh yeah. He's pretty much
Is it
my
your
cousin.
cousin?
Yes. When I check into the genealogy, Troy
I thought
Polamalu.
so.
Yeah. He's my first cousin.
I thought so.
Yeah. So if you hear this, Troy Polamalu, we're family.
You guys are
just
all
to let
family.
you know. So he's a really good person, on and off the field. If you look at his life story as a football player and hear from other people how he presented himself,
Yeah.
he didn't just pick that up from whatever. I mean, he did with his journey, but he got that from the family. Where he, that's where it was. That core is from the family.
Yeah.
So when he speak and presenting himself, that it goes all the way back to the roots. It's to the family,
I love that.
and and that's where he got it from.
I love that. And I feel like that, just like you were saying. So here's this quote. It says, all of my Polynesian counterparts in the NFL with roots in American Samoa understand how the values embedded in our South Pacific culture, community, hard work, perseverance, respect, contribute directly to our success. And I think I love that quote because I do think that going through life and, adapting to whatever situation or surroundings you might be in, I think that just having those core values and being able to implement that is very important. Culture, we're all about culture. And to me, I feel like my culture is very much about family and respect.
Yep. And you cannot escape that. That's who you are. Plain and simple. Like I got siblings that are growing up and they're in the American life now, like they're entitled to whatever that they got, things like that. And the reason why I say that, because I have the experience, I lost my identity when I got here.
Yeah.
How to be respectful and how to, to be hard work and stuff like that. It's just because of America.
surroundings.
Yes, it really changed me. And we're talking about for a minute. When I say for a minute, it took me a while until my parents, moved from Samoa to Hawaii over here to me. Then that's where I got my identity back. It's because of my parents, because they were still counseling me. They still being parents.
Reminding
Even
you.
though I have a wife and, a family of my own, they were still there, and I respect that. So, if you're Polynesian and you're half Polynesian or whatever, your identity is you, it's carried with you and things like that. You cannot escape it.
Yeah. And I feel like that's like you were saying, it's hard to make sure that we can still implement that. But I think that is something that you have to consider and remind yourself of every single day. I think that we can put our minds, or we can do anything if we put our minds to it. Today is a perfect example. We officially, in America, have the first woman vice president.
Yep.
Yay! And she's a woman of color too. So I think today was another great day to ensure us that the world is still evolving. We're still being able to see people for who they truly are, regardless of their skin tone, where they come from, their culture, all of that stuff, cultural differences. I think that we need to teach our children to remind ourselves that we too can do incredible and unthinkable things. We should not allow ourselves to think less of each other. ourselves, our children, siblings, parents, all of that. But we should be a light to each other. Let's encourage each other to be our best selves while implementing our culture, community, hard work, perseverance, respect, and happiness into our daily lives.
Yeah, I like that because, anything that happens, mostly drama in the family, my mom always says, like, see, mga lawyer, just forgive them. Love them continually, okay? And I'm over there, so like, shh, whatever.
Not that guy. Not this time.
Cut off.
Got to go.
Cut off. I'm done with that. I need no drama in my life.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. But that's what, like, we laugh about it, but that's what my mom always said. So, like, just forgive them, continue to love them. And this is my mom, like, forever. She always does that, and thinks like, the love is still there.
Yeah.
And I believe any mom will always say that to a child or a grown-up child like myself in that way.
Yeah. I think we're very fortunate to have parents who are still carrying that deep, rich culture and that can always remind us of where we came from and who we should be implementing that into our lives. So.
Yeah, like Moana.
What? Are you gonna sing
Moana.
it?
I'm not gonna sing anything. That's another good movie right there for it's a cartoon, but it has that value as well for a teenage girl that wants to find something, but the parents are still holding to the roots of they thought that was something for her, but she had a different calling of stuff like that. So at the same time, she was confused.
Yeah.
In that path, and things work out in the end of it. Like it doesn't have to be someone kind of related or a Tongan or a Palangi or a Miko, whatever. It just related into your culture and how you grew up into it. And then all cultures bring different and unique variety of knowledge. And I work with different ethnic people, like culture background, and I just learn from them. And I even, they talk about their growing up and the food that they love and stuff like that. It's like, man, that's awesome. That's really awesome.
I think that's a benefit too of being here in America and having your own culture, is being able to share with people, but then also because America is so diverse, being able to see other people's culture. And I think that it's important us as Americans to be able to see those, accept them, and really try to understand other people's cultures, because I think that's the only way that we can learn to adapt.
Yeah, I think that's America right there. It's the diverse of people that migrates here.
Yeah. Exactly.
My dad loves history, and he look into the history of America, how the migration of people migrates in here to do something better from where they were.
Agreed.
Whatever cause that they want to move from there to here, just to better themselves, and then after that they want to better their family members. This is where we want to make our mark. So
Agreed. Well, I think we need to stop talking so we can eat the chicken lady's amazing chicken.
Make sure there's some ketchup and mayonnaise in that fridge.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning into our first episode of Rock on the Mainland podcast.
Fat Fit I Lover.
I want to give another shout out to Lane Vision for producing this podcast. Also, we are going to be available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pod, really anywhere that you can get your podcast. So make sure that you look us up. Also, we are going to be leaving a message down below. Can you put it right here? Can you put it right here, Lane Vision? We're going to leave a link down below where you guys can click on to leave us a voicemail. Tell us what you loved. Tell us what you hated. Tell us about our podcast, any ideas that you guys have, any topics or any input, really. We would love to hear from you all. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Feel feels like longer than forever, yeah. My home is now a distant land. If I had one wish, I wish I could be back on that rock in the middle of the sea. My heart is calling me